Welcome to episode 2 of the Weekly Take podcast. I'm your host, Dominick Joseph, and in this episode, we will be talking about NFL Week 2 recaps, the NFL Week 3 picks, fantasy shockers and fantasy surprises, and quick NBA headlines going into the season. Going into the Week 2 scores, 1 week ago we had the Ravens and Bengals going against each other. And to be honest, I picked the Ravens last week. I thought the Ravens were a totally different team beating the Bills, and now looking back at it, I don't really know who's worse. I'm looking at the standings and the scores and what teams are really good and what teams are really bad just going into week 3. And I don't know who to say is worse, Buffalo or Arizona. Arizona only has 6 points on the whole year this year, and that was only because David Johnson scored. Buffalo, put up some points against Baltimore and the Chargers, but at this expense, I don't know how excited to be as a Ravens fan for the Ravens beating them. Going into the Thursday night game, though, back to that, the Bengals did put on a show. Their offense is actually looking rejuvenated. I thought the Bengals are one of the worst teams in the league this year, but goes to show the Bengals are really not that bad. They have Andy Dalton, who's throwing the ball really well with A.J. Green. They have Joe Mixon. They have Boyd. They have Eifert, I believe, still. Their defense with Geno Atkins is still actually a team to be reckoned with if they're coaching right. And, if they maintain that play every game, I think they're going to be a hard team to beat. I think the AFC North could be up for grabs if the Steelers continue to play like they are and the Ravens continue to, be mediocre on offense and not try. It just looked to me like we had a couple chances to win that game, or the Ravens had a couple chances, and it just slipped away. So in that one, I am disappointed in the Ravens, and I am shocked at the Bengals. They are undefeated this year, so we'll see how they play going into week 3. Moving into the Panthers-Falcons game, I didn't really watch too much of this game, but I did see that the Falcons came out on top, and that, I think I looked at it more as like these guys they did not want to start the season 0-2. Nobody wants to start the season 0-2, but, after losing to Philly, when they had the chances to win, I feel like they just wanted to win this game even more than the Panthers did. The Panthers came off a pretty good win against the Cowboys last week, but I just think the Falcons wanted this game more. The offense showed some light. Yes, Devontae Freeman was out, but Tevin Coleman really filled in that spot. And I just think the Panthers' defense is really stacked too, but I just think the offense was just a little too much. They have Calvin Ridley now, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, Tevin Coleman running at his best. That line isn't that bad. They have the weapons to be good, and when they know how to switch the switch to be good, they can be good. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago against New England, 2 years ago against New England, and it goes to show how they still have that team. Moving into the Colts-Redskins game, the Colts 21, the Redskins 0-9. Man, the Redskins put on a show against the Cardinals, but this kind of goes to they were playing the Cardinals last week, and the Colts are a different team. Andrew Luck's back. T.Y. Hilton's there. They have, their offense in Indianapolis isn't that bad when they can get things going. I know I'm going to say that a lot, but they have potential. Every team in this league has potential to have an offense. It is the NFL. But the Redskins just look sloppy. They look like they didn't really want to win that game at all. They went in there kind of with their heads high after that win against the Cardinals. But the Colts are not the Cardinals as much as, they don't have much difference. But, the Colts have Andrew Luck and the Cardinals have Sam Bradford. And, that alone right there is a difference maker. And, AP couldn't really get things going, and the Colts just kind of put on a show. I don't think they were home, but it was just I could see them really being a different team if they maintain this win streak. Texans at Titans, and this is like one of those games I just wanted to talk about a little more. Just who are the Texans this year? The Texans they have Deshaun Watson. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They have a good defense. They got J.J. Watt. They got Will Fuller. Who are they this year? Are they the team that we saw last year before Deshaun Watson got hurt, or are they stalling? It's a totally different team to me going into I know it's week 3, but the Titans, squeaked out that win. DeAndre Hopkins had many open times where he could have got the ball, but Deshaun Watson was just not get it to him. Yes, in fantasy he did put on a show, and so did Will Fuller, but at the end of the day, are they scoring at the end of those drives, or are they just getting big plays and punting the ball? So I see the Titans really being a pretty strong team, but I also see them in the middle of a pack this year. They're not anything really too special, and they're not anything really too bad. So right now, those teams are kind of sitting in the middle of the road for me. Moving on to the Philly and Buccaneers game. This is one game that I really was kind of just like, wow, the Buccaneers are legit. I picked Philly. I was wrong again last week, and I was really shocked at how the Eagles let that one slip away. Yes, the Buccaneers, I think they just started off to a quick start, and they quickly took the momentum away from the Eagles. And, in the NFL, in any sport, actually, momentum is everything. That's really kind of the thing in life, too. But you say the Buccaneers are 2-0, and, you look at the stat leaders now, and it's a totally different world now. Um, you know, so I just think that was a total shock. The Buccaneers are actually here to play this year. They're 2-0, leading that division. And, I think the Eagles will bounce back. This is just one loss that's going to kind of haunt them throughout the postseason. They will go to the postseason. This won't be a loss to really worry about. But because I think that division that the Eagles are in, they're going to sweep that division, and they don't really have much to worry about. So this win won't mean much to them, but they can't let teams like that just come in and just take the momentum out of them early. As for the Bucs, that team has two outside threats: Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans. It's got O.J. Howard in the middle. It's got two decent running backs. It's got Ronald Jones back there. It's got Jaquiz back there. And then you put Fitzpatrick in that, and it's kind of a recipe for this can work if your quarterback does it. It's the quarterback was the piece, and I think they found their piece. So, the Buccaneers are here to play, and I think the Eagles bounce back next week. Moving into the Chiefs-Steelers game. Chiefs coming out on top with 42-37 against the Steelers. Man, what is going on with the Steelers? The Steelers were one of those teams that is supposed to be representing the AFC. They have the team, but, there's so much drama going on. You got AB not even want to go to practice anymore. You got Le'Veon Bell, who's not even playing. We got linemen talking at running backs. We got, we got receivers saying, trade me. It's just, when you pout about not getting the ball, you pout about not getting stats, you shouldn't be upset. You're taking the safety away so Juju Smith could get the yards. And for those of you who don't or haven't heard that, it's Antonio Brown is complaining about not getting the stats he's used to because, blah, 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 throwing it to Juju. Well, you're getting your touches. It's just, you have more guys on you, and you should be okay with that, and your team's winning. As for the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes is really putting on a show. He's got Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce. Man, he's kind of like the thing with Fitzpatrick. You put him in an offense like that, you got two guys on the outside, one guy in the middle. They have a team to really be reckoned with because this offense is strong. And their defense, let 37 points happen, but, they were giving the Steelers kind of a game. Like, the Steelers have a really good offense, so, I wasn't too upset with their defense, but you can't let teams score 37 every week. Pat Mahomes, has 10 touchdowns and 1 interception on the year. Is he going to maintain that going into the next week? Who knows? So, I was really surprised with the Chiefs this game. I picked the Steelers, I believe, and it was just a shocking game. Moving into the Dolphins-Jets game, I didn't really watch a lick of this game, but I am looking at the score, and, I did pick the Jets after how they whooped on Detroit in Detroit. The Dolphins played really tough. They kind of stole this one division game, but the moving on, 28-12, that's a pretty good win, 8 points. The Dolphins offense is, there's not really many names on that offense. They have Ryan Tannehill, but, they managed to get this thing going, and, that was a big win for them. Big division game for them. Chargers at Bills, I don't really have much to say about this game other than Vontae Davis retiring at halftime. I've never heard of anything like that. When, he's coming off an injury, you put him in, he gets burnt, and, he's probably thinking to himself, is this even worth it? For an old cornerback to come in, he was a Pro Bowler a couple years back, but for him to come in and just get burnt, and, he's not really, who knows if he's really fully ready to play. He's, coming to the halftime, he says he's done. He doesn't even come out, and everyone's shocked, and I'm shocked to even hear that someone's retired at halftime. Never heard of anything like that, and I'm not sure a lot of people have. But the Chargers, they won this game that they're supposed to win. 31-20. I was surprised they put up 20. I feel like almost those were garbage time points. Even like early garbage time, like the Chargers almost kind of let them score to get the ball back. Chargers won this game. They're a tough team. I say the Chargers are, one of the powerhouses. They're Super Bowl favorites for some people. This was a good game for them. Bills, unfortunately, 0-2. Are they the worst team in the league? Is Arizona the worst team in the league? Nobody really knows yet. Vikings at Packers, moving on to that game. Wow, I actually did watch like a majority of this game, and I can tell you I was really disappointed. I know it's the Aaron Rodgers rule, and they should be hating on everyone else for that. He started that rule. Still, they gave the Vikings. I commend Kirk Cousins for his 4 touchdowns, but at the expense of the refs in Lambeau, I feel like they just wanted to make it a game, and then all of a sudden it's a tie game. The time just goes by. Kirk Cousins was getting things going, and then all of a sudden the Packers kind of lost this game. Even though it's a tie, it's a loss. They had this game, and they just let them come back. The refs, there's so much to say about this game, but I just really think that the Packers should have won this game. And at home, that tie is really going to buy both of them in the outcome postseason. They still have to play each other, but they got to go back to Minnesota. That's a tough stadium to win in. I think the Packers should have won this game. Moving into the Browns-Saints, man, the Saints just looked like the team who did not want to be the ones to lose to the Browns. And the Browns had this game. They missed 3 field goals. The Browns are cursed. They haven't won a game since RG3 was starting for them. The Saints they were sloppy, and the Browns looked really good. I think that's another reason why the Browns and Jets game is going to be really good this week, because the Browns have played some pretty tough opponents. They played the Steelers in the Saints opening week. So I think the Browns, they're a really good team. This year they got a lot of new players, but they're having trouble figuring out who they really are. And, the Saints, won this game, but they lucked out. Those 3 field goals went in. The Browns could have very well had to win this week or last week. So moving into the Lions-49ers game, 49ers, wow, they just put on a show kind of in a way. It was an ugly win, 3 points, but a win's a win. The Lions, I just don't like the Lions this year. I don't like the new coach. I don't really like Matt Stafford. Marvin Jones is a good receiver, but I don't know how much I trust him. The running back is, he's good, but he's having his issues, and it's just the 49ers look pretty wholesome to me when they get their things going. So the 49ers was a pretty big game. This was a pretty big game for them to win an NFC matchup. There wasn't really much to say other than the 49ers kind of solidified that win. Moving into the other NFC West game, the Cardinals at the Rams game. This is another reason why I think the Cardinals are the worst team in the league. They didn't even put up a point. I know the Rams are NFC favorites to represent in the Super Bowl, but you got to put up something. Even the Bills put up something against the Ravens. I know the Ravens aren't the Rams last week, but the Cardinals are just they're in a complete rebuild mode, and I feel bad for David Johnson because he's such a talented running back, and he's just behind such a bad line, and his quarterback can't even get the ball out. Maybe it's time for Josh Rosen to go out there and just throw a couple passes like what the Ravens are doing with Lamar Jackson, or what the Jets are doing with Darnold, or all these rookie quarterbacks are getting thrown into the Wolves. I feel like they should just throw Josh Rosen into the Wolves. I know they paid Sam Bradford, but you pick a quarterback that high, he might be your recipe. Moving into the Patriots-Jaguars. The Jaguars, wow, Blake Bortles really surprised me. I know Blake Bortles is a meme to most people, but he took apart that Patriots defense, and Tom Brady looked upset. I've heard things that he's pretty upset with Belichick lately, and, the Patriots are just in a funk after that loss because, the Jaguars were really the better team. I think the Jags just wanted this more after losing last year. The Patriots this loss is not going to do anything to them. I feel like they're still going to be in the playoffs just like every year, potentially from home field advantage. Jaguars will be in the playoffs. This very well could be a matchup. But again, the Jaguars defense isn't really what I'm really surprised in. I'm really surprised in that offense, and they were really rolling. There's a couple huge highlight catches. T.J. Yeldon took care of business while Leonard Fournette was out, and that was a big win for the Jaguars. I think, they're not going to hit out a lot of teams that are as good as the Patriots. So moving into the Raiders-Broncos game, this was a game the Raiders just looked like they wanted to lose. The Broncos got us squeaked out of Denver with this game. The Raiders just didn't really want this game to me at the end, and the Broncos just played a better game. That D line with Von Miller, man, of course, whoever else is on there is going to make plays. You got to put two guys on him. Moving into the Sunday night game against the Giants and Cowboys, the Giants are they're terrible this year, and I hate to say that because I like to cheer for the Giants. I like Eli, I like Saquon, I like Odell, but they couldn't get anything going against these Cowboys. The Cowboys defense they made the Cowboys defense look good. I know they got DeMarcus Lawrence, I know they got Sean Lee, but I'm having a hard time taking the Cowboys seriously because I just think the Giants weren't that good. They were getting the Eli like it was nothing. That offensive line in New York is just horrible. Eric Flowers could be replaced by a potato for all New York fans care for it. I bet you he'd probably do better. He wouldn't hold for damn sure. Um, you know, that was just, I think the Cowboys, won this game when they needed to because the Giants aren't that good. They haven't figured out who they are yet. Moving into the Monday night game, the Seahawks and Bears, the Seahawks, it looked like Wilson was trying to put on too much of a show. He just wasn't really that interception he threw in the game to tie it up 24-24 or to 17 was just kind of rushed. And I know some Seahawks fans say he was, rushed by the coaching, and that very well could be true. It took him out of his rhythm, but you can't make that throw in this game. Those curl flats like that are a hard throw in any league, in high school, college, NFL, arena. I trusted he made that, but it was to the running back. Why not throw it to Brandon Marshall? So the Seahawks just look sloppy. They're starting off 0-2. It's a hard year to open 2 away games. So going into the Bears, Khalil Mack obviously looked fantastic, and just Mitchell Trubisky actually looked like he was getting something going. The Bears offense are looking legit. The Bears are looking pretty good this year. If they put up a game like that against Green Bay last week and this game against Seattle, they're looking like a pretty good team. So that will be it for the Week 2 recap. Moving into Week 3 picks, I have my picks right here, and starting from the very top, we have the Jets at Browns for Thursday night tonight. And this game I gotta go the Browns because lately they put up a good game against the Saints and the Steelers. And I don't think the Jets are as good as the Steelers. I know the Jets have won against the Lions and they whooped on them, and then I know they go and lose to Miami last week. So I don't really know who I'm trusting. The Browns, I know they're gonna kind of put up a good game against these Jets, and they put up a good game against 2 pretty good offenses and defenses. So I say the Browns snap their streak this week and they win against the Jets at home on Thursday night. Moving into the Saints at Falcons, I gotta go Falcons this week. The Saints almost lost to the Browns if it wasn't for field goals, and that was just wow. I was thinking the Saints are going to be a totally different team this year. I thought they were going to be just like playoffs, potentially going to the NFC Championship and winning. But, if you're going to almost lose to the Browns like that, no win's a win. But you got to win those games. You got to pull those games. You got to solidify who you are. You got to whoop on teams like that. So that's why I am going Falcons this week. Packers at Redskins, this is a good game that I'm just going to say Packers just flat out, even though they're in Washington. Washington just does not look that good this year. Green Bay is 1-0-1. I say the Packers, want to get payback after that tie last week. The Redskins, I just don't think they could put up against Aaron Rodgers. I know it's kind of like a lot of people like these games, Redskins-Packers games, so I'm going to go Green Bay. Colts at Philly. There's no way the Philly lets this one go by them. I don't think the Colts have the firepower the Bucs do. So like they did last week. So I'm going to go with Philly this week, and that's kind of like I'm expecting them to win by like 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, maybe even more. Bills at Vikings, this is another game where I think the Vikings should win upwards of 2 touchdowns, if not more. I say the Vikings have 3 touchdowns on defense. Like I think that defense is going to terrorize this offense. The Bills just aren't looking who they are. the Bills had something going 3 years ago, but they just looked like they just wanted to restart, and they're in total rebuild mode right now. Moving into Raiders Dolphins, I just don't like picking the Raiders. I have to go Miami. The Jets are a pretty tough team, and they went and beat them. The Raiders, I just don't like Derek Carr and Gruden. It's just after the offseason was just ugly for them. I gotta go Miami. Broncos at Ravens. I think the Ravens bounce back this year, and that's why I am picking the Ravens against the Broncos this week. The Broncos is gonna terrorize that offense. I know they have some good corners. I know they got Von Miller. I know Denver's it's gonna be a hard game, but I think the home crowd at Baltimore is gonna uplift them, and I say the Ravens win this by a touchdown or a field goal, even a safety. I think it's gonna be a really close game. It's gonna come down to the wire. Moving into the Bengals-Panthers game, I think the Panthers steal this one from the Bengals. The Bengals are playing a really good defense, and the Panthers are home, and they didn't, that loss from them last week really kind of took it out of them, and I think they bounce back and win this week at home. The Bengals have a good offense, but I think the Panthers, kind of hit them in the mouth this week and say this, we're not just going to let you walk over us like Baltimore let happen. So I'm going with the Panthers this week. Giants at Texans. I can't pick the Giants. J.J. Watt against that offensive line, I feel like he's going to have 4 sacks alone. So I got to go Texans. DeAndre Hopkins is going to light him up. I know Odell, Saquon have big playability, but I don't think those big plays are going to shine against this defense. Texans defense, has its spots, but it's pretty strong where the Giants are weak, I think. So this week I got to go Texans. Moving into the Titans-Jaguars game, I can't pick the Titans against the Jaguars after what they just did to New England. I got to go Jags at home. Titans, I don't think they can get really much going. It's a divisional opponent. But, I say the Jags win this game by 10. Moving in 49ers-Chiefs, this is another game where I just say the Chiefs whoop on the 49ers. I say the 49ers gave them a good first half, but the Chiefs, that offense is just unbearable. I know Reuben Foster has been activated. That could make a difference for the 49ers, but, I just don't understand or don't see the 49ers win this game. I think the Chiefs are too overpowered. Moving into the Chiefs-Rams game, or Chargers-Rams game, I think this is one of the best games of the week. This should be Sunday night. I got to go Rams. I want to believe in the Chargers. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I think the Rams actually get a taste of what there's another good team. And I know this is an AFC matchup, but AFC and NFC. But I say the Rams snag this game. I think Todd Gurley, runs all over this Charger defense. I know the Chargers have a good secondary and they have good backers, but I don't know. I think Todd Gurley gets something going early and kind of solidifies the Rams are a really good team, and the Chargers kind of be like, I guess we're not as good as those guys. Moving to the Cowboys Seahawks, I got to go Cowboys. I think Ezekiel Elliott's going to have a heyday on this defense. The Seattle Seahawks are not who they are or who they were. They're no longer the Legion of Boom. Who knows if KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner come back? If they come back, that very well could make me look stupid, and the defense goes off. But if those two are out, I gotta go Cowboys. I know they're in Seattle. The 12th man's gonna help them, but I say the Cowboys they're too tough. If Dak Prescott can play like that, or if he does play like that, and Zeke picks up his slack, I don't know. I think the Cowboys win that game. Bears at Cardinals. I don't think I'm gonna pick the Cardinals unless they whoop on someone. I can't pick them. I got to go Bears this week. So moving into the Patriots-Lions game, I got to go Patriots. The Lions are pathetic. I don't like the coaching. I've told you guys I don't really like Matt Stafford. That defense is not really that good. I know they have some playmakers, but, the Patriots, I think, are just going to bully the Lions at home. Moving into the Monday night game, the last weekly pick of the week for week 3, I got to go Steelers. I don't think the Bucks... I think the Steelers kind of find themselves, and I think the Bucks just fall apart, and I think they fall to 2-1, and I think the Steelers finally get their first win of the year. So moving into that, I just wanted to kind of talk about the stats this year. We got Ryan Fitzpatrick leading passing. We got Matt Breida from San Francisco leading, and then we have Deshaun Jackson leading receiving. If you would have told me 2 years ago that Ryan Fitzpatrick would be leading the league in passing yards, and Matt Breida, Joe Mixon, Phillip Lindsay, Lamar Miller, and James Conner are the leading rushers, like, I know they might filter out throughout the year, but I don't. What world are we living in with those people leading the stats this year? It's just totally different to me. Philip Lindsay's doing really good. I just didn't think he was third in rushing. And Deshaun Jackson, it's like we went back in time to the Michael Vick days. So, that is it for week 3 picks this week. Moving into the fantasy shockers of the podcast, I just wanted to talk about a couple people who I was just like, wow, they really scored quite a bit of fantasy points, and I didn't think they would. That's basically what a shocker is. I did fantasy start sit 'em last week, but I kind of wanted to have something of my own. Fantasy shockers is just something small, and I just want people to be like, oh damn, I didn't know they had a good game, because not everyone plays everyone in fantasy. Not everyone has 4 leagues. So looking into fantasy shockers, the first one on my list is Blake Bortles with 32.58 points. This is in standard leagues. Man, that's Blake Bortles is someone that's on most people's benches. And then moving into the running back portion, I got Matt Breida, and he had 21 points in standard leagues. And that right there is a lot of points, like, for him. Like, going into this year, I was like, oh, well, after the starting running back got hurt for the 49ers. I forgot his name. But, man, he just looked really good this week. He had a couple really big plays that really helped, and those touchdowns really helped that too. Moving into tight ends, Jesse James with 19. Man, someone's got to get those points from that offense that they scored a lot of points. So I think Jesse James, that's a real big shocker to have 19 points as a tight end. Even if you're Gronk, that's still a pretty big shocker. I mean, I know he scores like upwards of 14, but like 19 is a pretty solid amount. Going into Tavon Austin with 18.40. That's a pretty big amount for Tavon Austin. The Dallas Cowboys, I know they don't really have a solidified number 1, but for him to have that much, that's like nobody's starting Tavon Austin unless you're in like a 12-man league or 8-man league and you just, had some injuries. So I think that's a big fantasy shocker. So those 4 players are going to go as my 4 fantasy shockers this week. We will talk about the next fantasy shockers next week for week 3. But week 2, Blake Bortles, Matt Breida, Jesse James, and Tavon Austin they all really shocked me going into this week. Moving into the final part of the show, I'm just going to go over some quick NBA headlines. Jimmy Butler wants out of Minnesota, and do I blame the guy? Because, man, they brought everyone from Chicago, and he's basically playing with the same team. I wouldn't want to play with them either. They got Derrick Rose, Boozer, and then they just picked up Dang. It's just like, do you want to play for the same team when the guys aren't even in their prime anymore? When they were all in their prime, they didn't even do anything. So what makes them think bringing them to Minnesota and rebranding it is going to make it any different? Jimmy Butler wants to go to the Clippers, the Knicks, or the Nets. And, man, that's a pretty surprising thing, because I know a lot of people like to go win rings, and that for someone of that caliber wanting to go to a bad team, it's like almost like a pinch me type moment. I think that Jimmy Butler would be better in the Clippers. I think they could get something going. They have the cap space to potentially sign Kawhi. If Jimmy Butler and Kawhi team up, that could be a pretty good team in the West, but the West does not need any more good teams for damn sure. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Kawhi going to eventually go to the Clippers. I know he hasn't even played a single game as a Raptor, but he has practiced as one. And, I haven't heard anything that he's really loving it, but I have heard some things that he already is thinking about going to the Clippers. And if, the Clippers get both Kawhi and Jimmy Butler and a couple good veterans and a couple shooters, they're back in it as a playoff team. And then to wrap up the show, I just want to talk about LeBron. LeBron finally getting the deal to be Space Jam 2. I think it's going to be a good movie. He's a really good actor. I think it's going to be better than Space Jam 1. Michael Jordan, he's Michael Jordan. He's got all these shoes, the best player in the NBA to ever play. And I just think Space Jam 2 was better with LeBron. He's a better actor. He's a better face. He's a better person, better family guy. So I think Space Jam 2 will be really good with LeBron. Moving into the final part of the show, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's listened. This was a shorter episode this week, but next week we'll definitely have a little bit of a longer one. Possibly week 3 gives us more things to talk about, more controversial things. So moving into the goodbye segment of the show, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. This show will be released at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on SoundCloud. I'm trying to get the YouTube thing going, but I just hope everyone has a good one. Thank you very much for listening.